There's every indication that Ron DeSantis, having produced a successful record in Florida, is very seriously considering running for president. Now, there have been some recent reports coming more from the left, but also some from the MAGA Trumpsters, that DeSantis is having some setbacks. He's running into some roadblocks. This is not a good idea. It's not going very well for him. I don't put a whole lot of stock in all that. I want to actually ask a different question. From DeSantis's own point of view, is this the best time for him to run? And I'm going to ask this as someone who is well disposed toward DeSantis, has nothing against him, has only admiration, as I described in the last segment, for what he's done and for his record. So I'm not looking at whether DeSantis is a nuisance for Trump or whether DeSantis is... I'm looking really at whether DeSantis is doing himself a favor by running now as opposed to waiting it out for the next time around. Now, the case for DeSantis running now, and I think this is what a lot of the DeSantis people are saying on social media, is basically the idea, you get it in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, there is a tide in the affairs of men, and the idea is you got to take the wave when it comes and go for it. But let's remember that this is stated by who? I believe it was stated by Brutus, maybe Cassius, one of the two of them, right before a battle, that they lost. And similarly, the proverb that we all know, fortune favors the brave. This is a proverb, by the way, from Virgil, and it comes from the Aeneid. But it's not said by Aeneas. It is said by a Italian warlord named Turnus. He goes, fortune favors the brave. And then he goes into battle with Aeneas, and guess what? He is slain. He is killed in that battle. So with Virgil, there is an irony to the phrase fortune favors the brave, and that's the issue I want to examine here. I'm doing it with reference to an article I want to give credit to. It's a very good article by Daniel McCarthy. It's in The Spectator, thespectator.com, and it is an article precisely about DeSantis and his future. By and large, what Daniel McCarthy is arguing is DeSantis may be better off waiting till 2028. He goes, listen, yeah, you can try to take on Trump. He goes, it's going to be really hard to beat Trump for the nomination. But even if you do, the chances are that your nomination, your candidacy will be sort of sabotaged. There'll be MAGA people who are like, I don't like what he did to Trump. I'm not going to vote for him. Who knows what Trump will do? Will Trump run as a third party? I hope not. I don't think he will. But even if he doesn't run as a third party, Trump and Trumpism are going to define the next election. I think there's little doubt about that. So even if DeSantis is the nominee, the question is always going to be, how do you stand in relation to Trump? What would Trump do about this? And what are you doing about that? And if there's a hair's breadth of difference, you now have to explain the difference. So it becomes a kind of almost a natural wedge in the Republican base. Now, says Daniel McCarthy, the writer of this article, it is true that a few people, I can think here of Kemp in Georgia, but also Youngkin in Virginia, they were able to sort of run independently of Trump. They were able to say, listen, this is not about Trump, this is about Georgia, this is not about Trump, this is about Virginia. But, says Daniel McCarthy, those were local or regional. They were state elections. It was not a national election, and Trump continues to stand, again, to quote Julius Caesar, he sort of strides across the country like a colossus. In other words, he dominates the debate, and even when he's not present. I mean, think about it. Trump hasn't been president for 2 years, and yet if you look at media coverage, it's still all about Trump in a sense. Certainly all about Trump when the media is covering the Republicans and the right. Let's look, says Daniel McCarthy, at 2028. He goes, in 2028, there's going to be no front runner. Not only no Trump, no Biden. And he goes, as a result, it's an open field. And in an open field, you have a better chance to define not only where you come from, where you stand, but you have a better chance to also define your opponent. You're not playing in existing grooves, and you're not you're not, in a sense, limited to the options that are on the table before you. He says not only that, but DeSantis now has a second term. He would have to interrupt that second term to run for president. But let's say he doesn't do that. Let's say he says, listen, I am doing really well in Florida. Florida is doing really well. And this is a trend that's likely to continue. So if I'm able to have a fantastic record in Florida on all indices, I win my battle with Disney, I shut down the woke agenda, I stop the indoctrination in the schools, perhaps I'm able to limit, if not end, affirmative action, at least in state universities and state contracting. I'm able to restore the American dream in Florida, restore the Florida dream, make Florida great again. And Florida's already pretty great right now. If DeSantis can accomplish all this. I saw a recent interview with DeSantis where he was saying, listen, this is not just a matter of stopping the left. Governing is also a matter of positive things that we do to make life better, to create more opportunity, more ladders of success. And this is totally right. Very often Republicans are on the defensive. We're up against the wall. We're like really lucky if we're able to block the bad stuff. But DeSantis' point is, let's do some really good stuff. And I think what Daniel McCarthy is getting at in his article is like, if DeSantis can do that, he has an 8-year record. Think of it. That's like a Reaganite record for Florida, a Reaganite record for Florida, where you've got all these marvelous indices that you can demonstrate. He says, listen, it doesn't even matter. Even if Trump wins in 2024, even if Trump's running mate somehow gets into the inside lane, he goes, that guy will not be able to stand against DeSantis. He will have unbeatable credentials for being the Republican nominee, and he will have the best chance for him, the best prospects that he has to win the presidency.